Power Book 2 Ghost, the series finale, is very near. Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast. I'm 24K Logan. So the moment is about to be here, guys. The series finale of Power Book 2 Ghost is coming very soon. Now, in this video, I want to give my final thoughts and predictions. Yes, my final thoughts and predictions for what I think is going to happen to pretty much every character in this chapter of Power, and what I think the ending will be like for Tariq St. Patrick. So I'm going to start off with the Tejadas, right? So of course in the last episode, Monet Tejada passed away, right? So now it's just Cane, it's Dru, it's Diana. So I believe this. I believe that the best possible case scenario for Diana Tejada is that somehow, some way, she is able to get away from all of this. But I think she leaves New York and she is either on the run, or there's a possibility that Davis MacLean, and I'm going to get to him as well, of course. I think there's a possibility that Davis MacLean is able to work some type of magic out for her to be able to start a whole new life, a brand new life in a completely different state without having to be on the run or in witness protection or anything like that. Dru Tejada, I think that with Dru, I could see him going to Paris, but my honest prediction for Dru, and I've thought about this going back to last season, I think it's over for Dru Tejada. Yes, I think Dru Tejada will die in this episode. I'm not ruling out the complete possibility of him going to Paris and pursuing his art and whatnot, because Dru is very smart, but I just feel like one of the Tejada siblings will die, and I think that will be Dru Tejada. Now we move on to Cane Tejada, who just so happens to be my favorite character from this chapter. So with Cane, based off of what we saw in the trailer, considering the fact that they pretty much showed us that Cane is getting shot in episode 10. I don't know if he was in a shootout with the cops or who it was, but it looks like Cane is going to get shot. But I don't think that they would give it away to us that easy that Cane is going to die. In my opinion, if Cane doesn't go to jail, I can see Cane starting fresh somewhere else, but still staying in the game, starting his own operation. Those are my best scenarios for Cane and for all of the Tejada siblings. Right now, I'm gonna move on to Davis MacLean. Davis MacLean, again, another sophisticated character. He's willing to get his hands dirty if he really has to. We clearly saw that after the events of episode 9 when he took out one of Noma's men. I think that if that situation doesn't come back to bite him, I think it'll be a situation where somehow, some way, Noma is able to put 2 and 2 together and she will kill Davis. If she doesn't, I could see Davis, again, the same way I said, working some magic for Diana. I could see him doing the same thing for himself, being able to cover up his tracks and somehow, some way, be able to continue, his journey or whatever as a lawyer. But if I had to make a final prediction for Davis MacLean, I'm leaning more towards the side of he gets taken out by Noma, because she is able to put 2 and 2 together and see that he was in on the plan and the scheme that was going to involve having Noma taken out and Detective Carter. Which leads me to my next point. So let's start off with Noma. Okay, I'm in agreement with a lot of you Power fans. If Noma is not taken off the board in this episode, I think it's an automatic L. Definitely one of the biggest L's for this chapter of Power. Considering what Noma has done, as much as I know people might have had their issues with Monet and whatnot, but considering what she did for Cane in the last episode and just everything that Noma has done up until this point, I think it's a no-brainer that if nobody else is taken off the chessboard that deserves it, it has to be Noma. It has to be Noma. It is an automatic L for me, and I'm sure a lot of you Power fans agree. It's an automatic L if it is set for Noma to somehow, some way survive. So I predict that Kane Tejada takes the shot to kill Noma. That's what I can see. It'd be the perfect revenge for Kane, considering that he was laying on the ground with his hands tied behind his back, and he had to witness his mother go before his eyes. I think it's the perfect scenario that Kane Tejada takes the shot and he takes out Noma. Now going on to Detective Carter. So when we talk about Detective Carter, one thing that I have to admit, and same with Noma, he's quickly become one of the greatest villains in Power. I'm not saying that he is as great as a Milan or a Lobos, but I think that, first of all, shout out to Michael Ealy. He does a fantastic job in all of his roles, and he plays that villain role to a T. He was the perfect casting for Detective Carter. But with all that being said, I think this is the situation with Detective Carter. Not only do I believe that he can use that camera footage of Brayden and Tariq when they had killed Zion, I also think that there's a huge chance that Carter actually knows the whereabouts of Tasha and Yaz, and he was holding on to that information as a last resort so that he can have the upper hand on Tariq. Now, I don't know if that is a big possibility, but at this point, I wouldn't put it past Detective Carter, because it came as a shocker when he actually had the footage of what Brayden and Tariq did to Zion. And I think that there's a chance, again, that Carter has that footage of, or not footage, but he has paperwork. He has some type of information on the whereabouts of Tasha and Yaz. And I think it'll be a situation where Tariq is going to have to choose between, sacrificing himself, maybe doing some prison time, or cutting a deal with Davis that would allow Tasha and Yaz to be free. You know what I'm saying? But he's one of those characters where I think, how they say in Power, earn your death. I think that Carter has definitely earned his death, just like Noma. I definitely see Carter being taken out. And who would be the one to take him out? Well, I know a lot of people would say Tariq, but I think Rashad Tate, considering the fact that his brother, Kamal Tate, of course, shout out to him. Of course, with his brother being taken out, right? I think it only makes sense that the writers of Power have it set in stone to where Rashad is able to find out, however that is. I think Rashad will find out that Detective Carter was the one who pulled the trigger on his brother. And I think that Tate will get his revenge, and that when he gets his revenge, it doesn't come back to fall on him. I can see that happening most definitely. So overall, a pretty good ending for Rashad Tate. A satisfying ending for him for the most part, right? Now that leads me to Brayden and Effie. Brayden and Effie are the two characters in this chapter who I have absolutely no predictions. I don't know what to say about them other than starting off with Effie, right? Of course, Effie got accepted to the engineering program in Stanford, right? So that would mean her going to California, her leaving New York and going to California. Her trying to, have a clean slate from the game, focus on robotics, engineering, all of that, and, just be done with the life. Kane made it pretty clear to her that that's not really a possibility. Even if she was to go to Cali and go to school, she can't really leave the life. That's pretty much what Kane has said, right? But of course, that is under the control of Noma. If it was up to Kane, I'm pretty sure Kane would have let her free by now, right? But with Effie, something tells me that she's not going to make it to Cali that easy. Is it a possibility that she's able to make it to Cali? Yes. I've even heard some theories from fans saying that they believe Kane, not only will he take out Noma, but that he'll go off to Cali with Effie and they'll start their life out there. That sounds like a happy Disney fairy tale ending, but in the Power universe, we know we don't get endings like that for the most part, and I don't see that changing with Effie. I really don't have a prediction for Effie. The most that I could see for Effie, if she is able to make it to Cali, she's going to have to go through hell to make it there. And something just tells me that won't work out for her. But again, I just don't have a prediction for her. I really don't. Y'all can comment down below what y'all think will happen to Effie. And back to Brayden. Brayden, I think, is a bit more... This is what I'll say about Brayden. When it comes to Brayden, I think that Brayden will survive, but I don't know if he'll have the best ending. I could see Brayden taking the rap for all the crimes and going to jail. I could see him and Tariq parting ways. I could also see him going wherever Tariq goes, and I'm going to get to that very soon. As for Brayden, those are the three scenarios that I see for him. And if I'm going to lean into what I think is the best case, or what I see happening with Brayden the most, I could see Brayden taking the fall for everything that has happened. Everything that him and Tariq has done together this season that could come back to haunt them. I think that Brayden will take the rap for all of that to prove his loyalty even that much more, even though we already know he's probably the most loyal person in Tariq's corner. It's pretty much been like that since day one. And that leads me to none other than our guy, Tariq St. Patrick. Okay, so first of all, shout out to Michael Rainey Jr. He has done a hell of a job these last 10 years playing St. Patrick. He's gotten better and better. Very polarizing character, obviously. He's gone from one of the most hated characters to one of the characters that people in this chapter, they at least root for heavily. One thing that we can all agree on and put to bed, Tariq St. Patrick will not die. I think that would be a terrible mistake by the writers, and the reason why I say that, I feel that if you kill Tariq St. Patrick, it's very predictable and it just doesn't make sense. Yes, Tariq has done a lot of wrongs in this universe. I totally understand that, but at this point, killing Tariq St. Patrick is just too predictable. However, I don't think... There's two scenarios that I see for Tariq, right? I could see him going to jail, but I think that's the least possibility. I think that Tariq manages to find a way out of all of this and to walk away, but he walks away with a lot of scars. And what I say when I say a lot of scars, I think that there is a chance that he will lose someone very close to him. I think there's a chance that he could lose Tasha. I don't think nothing will happen to Yaz, but sadly, I could see something happening to his mother, Tasha St. Patrick. And I think that will be the most devastating thing that has happened in Tariq's life. I would think that would be more devastating than what he did to Ghost, which I'm going to get to that as well. But I definitely think that Tariq St. Patrick will survive. I think that somehow, some way, he'll get out of all of this. But I think that there will be some consequences on his end. I don't think that he walks away from it with no scars. There is the possibility of him and Uncle Tommy reuniting in Force or in some other spinoff. Just to touch up briefly on that, the possibility of that happening, while I'm not going to rule that out, I don't know. I'm going to say that that's a 50-50 chance. I I think that's a 50-50 chance. I don't see that as a big chance. That's why I said 50-50. I think that with everything that has happened, which we could see Tommy pop up. We could definitely see Tommy pop up in this episode to help Tariq. Because let's be real, Tariq needs allies. More than the Tejadas, more than Brayden and Effie, more than Davis McLean. And at this point, if Ghost is not there, which I'm going to get to, if Ghost is not there, who better in this universe for Tariq to go to than Uncle Tommy? Uncle Tommy is the perfect person to team up with Tariq. And the possibility of him coming in this episode, I don't know. But I do see at least a 50% chance that we get a spinoff with Tariq and Tommy reuniting and running things in Chicago, and possibly Brayden follows. But I think we'll have a better answer for that, of course, at the very end of the episode. And now for what I think is the best part of this video, and what a lot of people have been discussing since the ending of the original Power series. Will Ghost come back? Is Ghost still alive? Okay, here's my thing, guys. Ghost definitely could be alive. And I know this is going to sound delusional, but I'm sure a lot of you Power fans have said this same thing. Number one, we did not see a open casket for Ghost. Number two, we didn't see his body at the morgue. Nobody came to identify his body. All we saw was a funeral with a closed casket, and we saw a headstone, of course, for Ghost, right? That's all we saw. But let's think about this, right? Unique, played by none other than Joey Badass, who Unique is arguably my most favorite character in all of Power, right? A lot of people thought Unique was a goner, right? The fact that he was brutally beaten in the face with a pipe, right? Of course, by his brother Ronnie. A lot of people thought that it was a no-brainer that Unique was dead. And for a second, it did look that way. But again, we didn't see his body completely laid out, other than when he rolled over into the ditch, when Ronnie had threw him into the ditch, right? But again, even that wasn't all the confirmation of him being dead, or that wasn't enough confirmation. For a while, nobody had found nobody had found Unique's body. All they saw, I believe, was some bone fragments or something like that, or it was some type of DNA of Unique's left over in the studio or wherever they were, right? But nobody was able to find the body. And in the final moments of the most recent season of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan, Unique comes back, right? He survived that. Let's talk about another character, Lauren. Lauren was literally asleep and passed out in a car that was going into a lake. And right before her entire body was covered up, she woke up. And because of somebody walking their dog and their dog barking, they saved Lauren. Come on. And even Kanan has survived from a burning building. You mean to tell me if those three characters survived those harsh events, Ghost, and yes, I understand he was hit in the chest, fell to the ground, and we thought we saw him take his last breaths. But considering the history of Power, or what has recently transpired in Power since Ghost's death, you mean to tell me that it's a stretch to say that it's even a possibility that they bring this man back? So I'm going to say this. As far as Ghost coming back, I simply do not know. But I do think Not only will that break the internet, that will probably be the greatest moment in Power history if they bring Ghost back. And I think it could be a very great opportunity. Now, all in all, with everything that I've said, what's written in stone is written in stone. Whatever the writers decided for Power Book 2 Ghost, for the finale, whatever they wrote, they wrote. That is what's going to happen. It's set in stone. It's been a crazy journey with this show. Of course, we got Kanan coming back, I believe, in the winter. Force is going to be back at some point. And there's other spinoffs that's been in talk. An origin story of Tommy and Ghost. And there could, again, be a possibility that Tariq and Tommy team up together in Chicago for another spinoff. I don't know if that's a big possibility, but I know there have been a lot of theories about it. I'll put it that way. But all in all, those are my final predictions for the series finale of Power Book 2 Ghost. I appreciate everybody that tuned in and watched this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We have plenty of content on the way. Comment down below your predictions for the series finale of Power Book 2 Ghost, and even more, do you think that Ghost is coming back? Do you think it's even a chance that it makes sense? Let me know down in the comment section. And until next time, peace and love to everybody.